Welcome to the show. Excited to have Raney Stanczak from Edmonton Impact Champions at the last event in Texas here on the show today. And mark your calendars as the biggest and the best event in the world is going down. You know, we talk about the World Cup. Oh, it's the biggest and the best. It really is. If you haven't been to World Cup, it's a must experience situation if you're a paintball player, and it's a must watch if you're a paintball fan. It's going down November 12th through the 16th. And I just, you know, there's just something special about World Cup. And we're going to talk to Raney about that as well today, because he's been to a ton of them in his long, illustrious career. And then also we got a ton of content coming at you here at Major League Paintball Plus. Maybe if you didn't see it, the Ocho show just went up. Also some MLPB Plus, and then also our YouTube channel as well too. We got the top 20 games and the highlights from the last event in Texas. And, you know, as always, we're trying to tell stories out there. It's so important. So many captivating stories going on behind the scenes. And, you know, both before events, during events, after events. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give you guys as much as you possibly can. We obviously need your support to do that. So please continue to subscribe. We're trying to, as we always say, take the torch as far as we possibly can. And we need your help to do that. Stoked to have one of the leading lights, though, on today. Raney Stanczak has been doing this forever. I remember him coming up as a really aggressive, rail-thin, cocky kid from Southern California. But as soon as we saw him play the game, it was like, okay, this guy's destined for greatness. And if you look at, you know, we're about to bring him on here in a second. We got him waiting in the wings. But yeah, his career has been pretty insane. I mean, he's played for like the laundry list of some of the best teams ever, starting all the way back in the mid 2000s. Played for Dynasty, won with them, you know, coming up the ranks. And then went to the Ironman, won with them. 2007, 2008, you know, he's an OG Aftermath guy. Aftermath tried to make a run of it there, and then back on the Ironman, then goes to Damage. And starting around 2013 was when we were like, okay, Raney is elite of elite, and this is a reason why this dude's going to get paid to play this game. Because then that run starting 2013 until currently here, just on a heater. Played for Damage, helped them win events in 2013, or win an event in 2013. And then from 14 to 18, he was on Impact, won 12 events around the world with Edmonton Impact, then goes to X Factor. Their last win, 2019, Chicago. Raney a part of that. Also played in Europe as well, too, with the Golden State Kings. Won their Euro Championship. He's won 10-man events with Cat Factory. And then back on to Damage. They had 3 wins in a couple seasons not too long ago. And then, you know, with all the big crazy offseason that we had, I'm interested to see how this offseason is going to go down from 2025 to 2026 and see what happens there. But then back onto Impact, and they've just had an insane year. So without any further ado, let's bring Raney on here. We're going to just talk some shop, talk about the brackets leading up to Cup, talk about Cup itself, talk about the series title race, and the intricacies of these narratives and some of these stories. And, you know, because there's kind of 3 separate blocks. It's like guys that have a chance to win the series title, legit teams that have a chance to win the World Cup. And then you never know, maybe there's going to be some crazy thing happen like we saw from PB Fit at the last World Cup. And then also that relegation conversation as well, too. So, yeah, really looking forward here to this conversation with one of the best to ever do it, man, Raney Stanczak. This guy's going to be a first bout Hall of Famer. We're actually voting. Raney, welcome to the show. I'm sitting here this morning. I was looking at some of the Hall of Fame votes that Ryan Greenspan had sent out. And I was just, you know, I'm like, I got Raney coming on the show. I'm like, that's going to be an easy vote for me whenever this dude actually retires. Because, you know, I was just reading off your accolades here and all these different teams you've been on and all these different, you know, you just kind of have you're kind of one of those unique players. We're going to see a clip of this in a little bit. And I think the crucial moment in the final match to help Edmonton Impact get another win on the board. But, you know, it's just before we kind of get into it, because we got a lot to talk about today, you know, obviously with this long career you've had playing on a ton of these top teams, like how's the ride been? Like let's just say it stopped tomorrow, what would your takeaway be from this grand adventure that you've been on now for 20 years?
I mean, it's kind of surreal. It seems like it's gone fast. There's like a few years on Impact where it didn't seem like that ride was ever going to end. You know, like we were just always going to Europe, always winning tournaments. It almost seemed easy. And then maybe like in the last, I don't know, 3-4 years when the league, everybody's gotten better across the board. The elite teams have gotten better. The bottom end of the teams have gotten better. It's been like much more challenging where like this year, it almost seemed like, man, am I ever going to win again? You know, like, are we going, is this how it ends? You know, you don't like, man, I haven't won. I'm like starting to make more content. And it's like, my joke used to be the guys that are making content that are also playing like the game are the ones that are on the way out. You know, like poker players start selling their secrets. But yeah, it's kind of been surreal. Like I thought about that today. I didn't think I'd been playing this. Like if you would have told me this when I was 19, 20, and I'm still playing at the age of 39, I wouldn't have believed it. But you know, still grinding, still playing, still winning tournaments, still having fun, and like honestly can't get more of it. You know, like having success at this type of event, it's like it just filled my cup with desire and passion more for the game. You know, the glasses have like re-motivated me to go out every week. Like I was always trying to play once a week, but now I'm, you know, this week, tomorrow I'm coaching, Sunday I'm playing. Last weekend I played a 10-man. The weekend after we won Texas, I went out and played on Sunday. The following weekend I coached the layout and played on Sunday. So, you know, it's just kind of like rejuvenated my passion for the game. Like I've always had it, but now I'm like struggling for that content. So I really have to go out and force myself every single week, at least to get, you know, a day's, if not 2 or 3 days worth of stuff.
Yeah. So talk to me about the glasses a little bit, because I've seen you talk a little bit on some of the other shows. I mean, you've been kind of doing the podcast circuit a little bit too. I just felt like I had to bring you on. You know, we had Tyler on recently to hype the 3-man, and we had JC on. And I just felt you played so well at this event. You had this big moment we're going to watch here in a little bit, you know, in that final battle in the, you know, the two halves, the new format we've been doing. It's such a crucial moment. When I was kind of sitting there, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, God, speaking of just elite performance, and we'll get into how good Tyler Harmon and Justin Cornell were, but Jesus Christ, those dudes are about as, I mean, I've watched all of the paintball literally for decades, and you know, that's not an exaggeration, and how good they were was just incredibly impressive. But you know, for this show, like the first show when I was like, I need an impact guy, and I was like, well, we just had JC and Tyler on, and yeah, they played phenomenal, but we just touched base with them. Like, I got to get Raney on, because you played also just, you know, I wouldn't say it was like a capstone to an amazing career, because I feel like you're kind of playing some of the best, just based on what I saw on the reads that you were making. And we're going to get a look at one of those in a little bit here. You're playing some of the best paintball I've ever seen you play. And this is just kind of what we've been seeing out of guys in their late 30s, early 40s, with Greenspan having career years, you know, going into his early 40s. And, you know, he's been struggling with some injuries a little bit this past season and a half. But we're just seeing guys like, you know, Billy Bernaccio, one of your opponents. I mean, just guys that are just, and it kind of reminds me of, you know, when the UFC was making their big push, and you were seeing these dudes that were in their late 30s, mid to late 30s, early 40s as the champions, because you had to master so many skill sets to be an elite mixed martial artist. And I feel that you have to master so many skill sets in order to be an elite top level paintball player. So I guess let me get your thoughts on that before we jump into a couple of these other things.
Well, the one thing I'll say about the glasses is that it does help your game. You know, like I get to go back and watch, you know, maybe the mistakes or how I talk to people, or just like how I break down the field, the moves I made, maybe something I missed. Like sometimes you make a fill out and you don't see it. So now you're like, all right, when I get to this certain spot, I can, you know, put paint on that guy. Right. And so like doing the layout the week before Texas, you know, I'm able to like record moves. Obviously I don't want to post it and give stuff away, but just being able to go back and watch things and like kind of like archive it and study your game, just like how you would at an event. At an event, you know, you go back and watch your games, watch you guys, you know, break down. But sometimes, you know, you're only focused on the snake guy or the action. You know, the home guy's just doing nothing, right? Or maybe the Doritos, the camera's not over there. So at practice, to be able to just go watch yourself throughout the entire day and like evolve through that, I think it's a very good studying tool just for the individual, whether you post it or not. And then I also work with, you know, individuals coaching. So when they hit me up, now I don't have to write this long like paragraph. I can just kind of send this clip like, hey, here's this move, here's the shot I'm doing. And it's just an easy little, you know, click and send. So I was able to do that this last event. And yeah, the glasses are cool. You know, they're a fun thing to use. Kind of crazy how I actually tried to tell HK to buy a pair just so I could use them. And I ended up buying a pair, playing nightball, didn't really like them, was fogging a bunch. Marky had the smart idea, just popped the lens out, started playing with them. And then I wanted to go live on my Instagram. My Instagram is banned for selling paintball guns. I got a strike.
What?
Yeah. What do you know? Like I post, yeah, you can't post it in your story for selling. And like, I knew that. So I got a warning, got a 30-day, couple years ago, got a 30-day live ban, which didn't really matter because I never went live. I did it again the following year, forgot about it, bought the glasses, spent like 30, 40 minutes updating everything. I was like, all right, it's updated. Instagram's updated. I go click live. It's like, you can't go live. And then I look at it, it's like, you're banned for another 102 days, which was about a month ago. So I think after World Cup, I'm unbanned. So then I made another Instagram just to go live at the tournament. And then
wait, hold on.
I couldn't even go live on that
this might
Instagram
be
because you needed a few weeks. Yeah.
I don't want to stop your flow, but this is a paintball podcast here. So like we let people know. I did not know this because I see people post their guns for sale all the time. Like you're not allowed to sell a paintball gun is it because it's a gun or like why are you not allowed?
Well, you're supposed to blur out the trigger. So that's one thing. And then you can't say you don't want to say gun for sale. You say, hey, slide in the DMs, marker for sale.
Yeah.
Like even with my TikTok or I made a TikTok account too for this or my Instagram, I now refer to it as marker. Yesterday, I got my first TikTok strike. I don't know for what. I thought it was music. So I reposted it with different music and it instantly banned. And all it is me doing a walkthrough of the HK warehouse. And I just and it's played at 5x the speed and it's just go through. So I went through and looked at it and I couldn't figure it out. And they don't give you anything in the guidelines of what you did wrong. And I tried to peel it and it was automatically not peeled. So I got one strike. So I don't know. Sometimes these algorithms are temperamental, but yeah, I get it. But yeah, I mean, my Instagram is filled with nothing but paintball guns. So for it to get banned, I made the post and the post is legit, but because I shared it to the story, it's not legit. And I don't know. It is what it is. So I made a whole nother Instagram, which like I said, in life, bad things lead to good. I wouldn't even made the All Access Paintball if I could have gone live on my personal one. And I wouldn't have posted every day if I could go on my own Instagram, but I posted every day so I could get my live access by Texas. So I had 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, I'll post every day and eventually give me live access. It literally didn't give me live access till the flight home Sunday night. And so I was like, it was just kind of a mistake to even make that Instagram, but it is what it is. Now I have this other Instagram that kind of motivates me to go play and get more content, and we'll see how long I carry on with it.
Well, a couple things here. We need to let people know where they can follow you to do this, because this is, this is when I make this plea. Look, paintball players have to help paintball players, man. We have an uphill climb here. We're trying to convince the world, yeah, we use guns and we play war. It's war with no death, but it's just paintball. It's a giant metaphor for a battle. It's not, no one dies. Almost never does anyone get hurt. It's this amazingly special thing that we love so much. You and I have been in this for so long, and I've seen so much positivity that the game of paintball can give to a human being's life. And this is why we have to help each other, where it's and this is why I love having conversations with guys like yourself. You are a leading light in the sport. You've been doing this for so long. There is a reason why you get paid to play this game. You deserve it as that level of player, but you have a great personality too. So I think this is perfect for you. You should be creating that sort of content. But this is where we have to kind of all help each other. So if you're watching this, share this show, share Raney's stuff, share whatever other people are doing, because we are fighting an uphill battle. The algorithms do not want us to win. They really don't want this out there. And it's sad. It's like someone can even throw a paintball marker up or paintball gun up and, sell your extra paintball marker on Instagram. It's like, why? It's not an AK-47. It's a paintball gun, dude. Like I remember one time I got detained in Tahiti, and they were going to take me to prison because they're like, oh, you're trying to import weapons into our country. I'm like sitting in secondary and I'm like, it was one of those funny travel stories. I'm sure you got a couple of these too. And, so we go there and it was like, I'm sure you taught a lot of clinics and went to a lot of foreign lands. And so it was like, oh, we're going here. We're meeting a dude named Frank. He's got our information. And they're like, well, who are you here meeting? And I'm like, guy named Frank. Like, what's his last name? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you're trying to import these weapons into our country. I'm like, they're paintball guns, dude. I'm like, here's a magazine with me using this paintball gun. Like, this is just, it's just a game that we play. And they were like holding me in secondary for 45 minutes. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. And here comes the dude, Frank, who I've never met. And he starts speaking French to the guys. And the next thing I know, I'm being let out of the room. I still have no idea what he said to him and how I got out of it. But it's just, we are fighting an uphill battle here and we have to support each other. So where can people go to kind of catch this new content that you're trying to do and help you out, because you deserve to be elevated in this situation with this, first person type content you're trying to create?
It's All Access Paintball on TikTok and Instagram. Kind of little play on the old Paintball Access. I was like, kind of just shooting from the hip in Europe with Meter, and I was like, dude, what's the name? And I'm like, All Access. I'm like, whatever, dude. Let's just type this in. This isn't going to be permanent. But then, lo and behold, here we are a couple months later, churning and burning.
Yeah. So please, again, I can't overstate the importance of this, because we are fighting such an uphill battle. Support the people that support the sport and are leading lights. So speaking of leading lights, Raney, let's dive into this before we get into the finals conversation and Texas and the win you guys just had, which is a big win, and it put you guys, in the conversation, at least for for series title race considerations. Definitely a potential favorite to win the World Cup. But the season has been really good for Impact. I was crunching the numbers to kind of just get a read on all these different narratives heading into Cup after 4 events, and it's been a ridiculous year for Impact. You guys only have 4 losses all year long. You've only lost to 3 separate teams out of 20, and then your record in the prelims has been outstanding. 4 events, 1 loss in the prelims came at the second event. So, it's pretty insane that, you guys are sitting at a 15-1 record for the prelims, a 19-4 overall record with a plus 27. The one outlier, though, is, and even with the win, you guys play a brand of paintball that is a bit high risk, in the sense that you guys slow the pace down. So you don't play a ton of points, kind of like Russian Legion does, or Red Legion. PB Fit also, a little bit more ramping up the aggression. So their plus minuses on Sundays are plus 11 and plus 21. You guys sit in 3rd place overall with a -5 actually on Sunday, because up until this event, you guys were struggling a bit to win games on Sunday, and you did have one big blowout loss to Legion, which kind of gave you that -6 on that one. It was a mercy rule loss, and the quarterfinals in Atlantic City, and then you lost again. So Legions beat you guys twice. They've been your Achilles heel on Sunday. So I guess my first question to you, as far as the year, with the roster you guys have, this is no surprise. When Impact went really big in the offseason, yet again, picked up Marcelo Margot, getting all these different dudes, and to add to to an insanely strong roster to start out with. We expect you guys to have a big year, but what's been impressive to me is the full control. It does really seem that I think it was at the 3rd event, your guys' communication seemed to tear up, and even though you guys had done well before that, it just seems that you guys always seem to have the count right. You always seem to know where the bodies are. You're totally willing to slow the game down and not play a ton of points. So you've had a lot of wins, but some closer wins. You're not blowing teams, out of the water as far as margin is concerned. But it has been a very masterful performance as far as high level paintball IQ, full control of an understanding of the game plans, execution of the game plans, and control of that. You're a coach, I'm a coach too. When I'm coaching divisional players, I'm constantly always asking them to understand that everything we do is contingent on the moment. We need to know the count. We need to know where we are with the time, where we are with the point spread. We need to understand the chess match of this to have high paintball IQs. And you're trying to teach these guys those sorts of elements of understanding what to do in certain positions at certain moments of the game. And when I look across the field, it's there for you guys. So maybe you could speak on that, because it has just been so impressive to watch you guys control the action, to exert your will on the team way more often than especially in the prelims. It's just been, again, you've lost 1 game in 4 events in the prelims.
Yeah, I mean, the games, I'm trying to think the game we lost. We lost to Damage on the 2nd event, but the 1st event, a lot of our wins could have gone either way, and like that 1st event, we were kind of still discovering ourselves. We had 3 new guys, so it was Dave's trying to learn, Tyler and Marcelo, and everybody's trying to get on the same page, and then we lost the Fit, which is a match we could have won. It could have gone either way. We lost in overtime, just maybe not a good understanding of the dangerousness of being in the snake with bounce shots and all that. The 2nd event, we lost to Russians on Sunday, and honestly, after the 1st point, or even during the 1st point, we were never settled. I don't think we were confident or comfortable in our identity as a team, right? Like I went back and watched that match, and I remember even myself thinking like, we're going to lose. And it's 1 point in, 2 point in. Like we weren't calm. We weren't playing together. We were making, rushing individual moves, or like, the first point we were down bodies and it was a 3-on-3. Like we could have easily won it. We were at 3-on-5. We bring it back to a 3-on-3. And then I don't think we had found our identity. And at the third event is when I think we felt the most comfortable, right? We were having fun off the field, on the field. It sucked that we lost Marcelo, but I think in the end, it kind of brought everybody closer. Less variables, less people, just kind of narrowed down our squad. And instead of having 2 lines, it really only gave us 1 line at that event, which I think, sometimes helps the coach or helps the players get in a rhythm. And then we were playing the Russian game and we were beating them 3-0 and everything's going our way. And then, they're a highly talented team. You're not going to 6-0 them. They're going to figure something out. And so they had a point that they were winning. We pulled it back, making it a 3-on-3, and JC got clipped in the barrel. And like after that, like we imploded. We were upset with JC because our whole thing was focusing on communication, working with each other, like not reaching for it. And, JC is a guy that's, as you saw the last event, he's going to press the issue. And that's what you want him to do. And on that layout for that third event, Fedorov and who was it? Malloy were 2 guys pressing the issues, and those guys are in the finals. So back to that move, when JC got shot in the barrel, he wasn't pressing it. He didn't mentally make the decision to press the issue. He was trying to play tight. I was the guy with him, and he got clipped in his barrel trying to figure things out. So it just sucked. It worked out that way, but we didn't handle that punch well. And we scored 1 more point after they scored, I believe, 8. I mean, I think we lost 8-4 or something like that.
8-4 was the score, yeah.
And we only scored.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were up 3-0. And then on the next 9 points, we scored 1. And it was one where I attacked him with aggression. It's like, we should have been able to give them 1 or 2 points and then had a calm conversation about, hey, what they're doing. If they're attacking, right, and they're not holding their zones, then we can get out wide, which is on that field, everybody was playing the opposite. They were holding zones and not getting out wide. So if the Russians were playing that style, we have the characters, the skill sets, the abilities, however you want to put it, to match their style, right? We have speed. We have a deep roster, right? So we should have been able to do that. And it was something we had a conversation about after that, and it was I think it was the same reason why we lost a 3-man. We let that same event, we let the pressure get to us. So we evolved as a group after that event, and you saw it at the 3-man. I didn't get to go to it, but they were just, the coaches had faith in the players had faith in the coaches. Everybody was having fun, and that was the main focus. And again, we just carried over that momentum from that third event to the fourth event, where whatever we need to do, we're going to do. And luckily on this field, we never had to pull out any of those points that you needed real fast, right? Like I had a play where I'd run up to the pin, which I use in the 3-man, and you just go right through. But we never were in a situation where you're down points. We were always in control. And I truly believe if this was a 7-man tournament, we would be the best 7-man team. And so if we go out there and we play team 1 point, we have a guy that can go to the snake, go to the corner. We have the best gunfight. We have the best gunfighter. T-Harm, people made mistakes. They didn't learn. So, I've had to battle against that dude for the last 3 or 4 years. In the finals, he's playing the 2 on the snake. I'm playing the 2 on the snake. I didn't get shot by him, but I also didn't battle him. I either got dominance and held him in, or if he was shooting at me, I just go, nope, cool, dude. You do whatever you want. I'm not taking shots on you, because he doesn't miss. There's 2 or 3 guys in the league that have a snapshot like him, and it's like Jacob, Tyler, and maybe a couple other guys, but they're able to put a paintball where they want it to. So if you stay in a spot that they just figure out where you're at, and you stay there and try to post on them, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, there's a couple guys. I mean, after doing my job and watching all these gunfights, it depends also on the tournament, because some guys are on some events. Like let's take an Arturo Andrade. He has almost an illegal snapshot, with it's almost like a blind shot. But some events he's not on. Some events it's like straight line. Yeah, it's like it's like a whip. But so it depends on the situation. What's amazing about Tyler, and going back and watching the games again, is that his ability to create these kills when guys were on him. He was popping the top. He had a crucial kill on TJ Danner inside. He had multiple crucial kills in these situations. And You know, it was but the combo of him, dude, yeah, it was insane. And then, but it was like the insane combo of him and JC. It was just JC was on one and Tyler was on one. It was like you guys were just, and we're gonna get so. But this is what makes this moment here for you specifically and your team in general that we're gonna show here in a little bit that much more magnified because. Okay, JC and Tyler are having like a tournament, bro. Like they can't be touched. They were, you know, maybe a death here, death there. Like this paintball, man. Like you're gonna die. You know, this is just kind of how it works. Occasionally you're gonna lose, but their level of mastery was so high for the two of them. The moves they were making, the communication cross field, the communication with each other, the teamwork between the two unit, and then kind of having the two of them as a unit. And having you swing behind him on Sunday was just so massive. But there comes this moment, which I don't want to get, we'll get to it in a little bit because I do want to get through some of this conversation first. But it made this moment even more important because you lose both of them. You're in a 35, and it's like it's a close game. If they win this point, it's going to be 2-1. It was huge. But yeah, Tyler was insane. JC was insane. I mean, the D side was great. Like, obviously, it's a full foot. You need everyone to contribute. But the level of elite performance from Justin Cornell and Tyler Harmon in their roles was so impressive, dude. Like Tyler was just
the thing about Tyler
creating. Dude, he was creating kills inside. He was winning gunfights down the sideline. He's popping the top. It was insane. It was just insane.
It's his field awareness, right? So, like, yes, Arturo has a really ridiculous snapshot. So it's like he's snapping down the wire. Tyler's shot was like he would do that too, but then he would take. You know, he never really played the mini W, right? That would like look Dorito way. That was pretty much my spot sometimes. But sometimes he'd get in there and then I'd have to come behind him. So he didn't have a lot of time in that bunker. He at one point took one snapshot over the top because he could hear Marcelo talking out of the home and he didn't miss with his one ball. Marcelo. And that's not a shot he's taken a lot. Great. No. So that's why he has a ridiculous shot because he just heard it, could see it, came up, connected, went right back down. And it was like one ball, just so bow and arrow, like the dude from Lord of the Rings, the elf that just shoots bows. Just kill.
Legolas, bro. Legolas. Huge. Yeah, he was straight up like Legolas.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that was like such a crucial kill. Yeah, because if you get Marcelo Margot off the field when you're playing Tampa Bay Damage or what, it doesn't matter, whoever he's playing for at the time, yeah, it was massive. But those are those kills. It's like, because when I'm watching up from the tower, sorry, I'm still dealing with a little bit of a cold, so I got a cough. I had to blow my nose. Apologies to everyone out there. I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, it's like when I'm watching up from the tower, like we have the camera stand and we have like another camera that's on just the snake. And, you know, I'm trying to get the overall flow of what's happening and bring that to to the people that are watching it. But it's paintball. There's stuff that's happening in real time. And sometimes there'll be a kill that happens and I'm like, I don't know where that kill came from. And even sometimes I'll go back and rewatch all the games. And then sometimes you'll be able to either through process of elimination, figure out who that kill was because you can slow it down and be like, oh, watch it 3 or 4 times and be like, okay, well, Raney was looking this way, Brandon was looking this way, or Dalton was looking this. And there's only one gun that could have got that kill, even if it's off camera. And yeah, Tyler was on one, bro. It was just, and it's what I love about Tyler is he's been doing this since he was 12 years old. You know, I mean, I was playing against Tyler as a pro when he was 12. And I was taller than he is, and now he's taller. It's just so impressive, dude. Like, it was to see him as clocked in, to see you as clocked in, to see JC clocked in. And the D side you guys had contributions. Nick played great. Dalton played really well. Then you guys went to Brandon on Sunday. You know, everyone did well. But the combo of JC and Tyler in the snake was just, that was the, and then with some of the moves you made, that's the reason why you guys won the tournament. You know, I mean, because it was again, undefeated run.
Tyler said before the event, he's like, he hit me kind of randomly. He's like, I really want to win with this group. And then I was like, yeah, man, like I didn't know what to say. I was just like, all right. So it kind of like, that was at practice. So it kind of crept into my mind. I thought about it. And then I thought about it. I'm like, man, Tyler's been playing pro paintball since he was 12. He's, 36, 37. He's up there, 25 years. I've been playing for a long time. We've been battling. I battled him when he was a rookie. We were both rookies, Twisted, Bushwhackers, 2003 in the backfield. So I've been battling against him, been playing against him at the pro level. And then I was like, right before we go in the finals, I was like, man, we have not won a tournament together. I was like, dude, let's go win one today. Like, this is what we do. And so, like, to go win one, with that group, it's a new group, right? To go win one, and it felt so good, and Tyler really wanted that win. And, when you see a guy like that, it kind of, it motivates you an extra. Like there's the audio that you guys just loaded up, right? It's no commentating. It's just the audio from the game. And I talked about this, and you can hear it. I think it's after the fourth point I come in, because I had a little bit of gun issues, which X Factor didn't pick up on, which I'm surprised. But I'm walking back in the pit. There's a long point. I'm like, all right, hey, let me get one. It's 4-0. Like, I just pitched 7 innings. We got a 4-0 lead. Let's bring in the bullpen or the closer. And Tyler's like, you hear him. No, if I'm out there, you're out there. I'm like, all right, I'm back in, coach. I'm not letting my guy down, dude. I'm back in. Let me back in. It wasn't even tired. I was just like, let me get the gun. Let me get these things going. He's like, no. I'm like, all right. That's what I needed. So it's amazing having a ball of energy like that on your side. And it just makes you a better player, a better person, and just more enthusiastic to play the game.
Yeah, and then talk to me about JC, because JC was like also just playing. I mean, he's been good forever, and he's going to make the Hall of Fame at some point in two. And whenever time I ask the Canadians, I'm like, who are the best players ever to come out? Like the Sea Dogs earlier on in the year, got to know those guys a little bit. We were kind of just BSing before an event on, I think it was like Saturday. And I was like, hey, you guys are Canadians, like, who are the best players ever come out of Canada? Because I played against some of the OGs back in the day, but what's your opinion? And they were like, JC, Zach Yakimek. They threw like a Josh Javy in there, some of the other guys. But, JC was basically unanimous with every single dude that, voiced their opinion. And he had a good one for you guys down in the 3-man. He's been, but it was because that first to go, and sometimes it was Tyler as the first to go, but it's mostly JC. But one of the things that I noticed, and you coach a lot of players and teams on the divisional level, but one of the hardest things for I think coaches to do when you're trying to, and this is a public service announcement for all the divisional ones on the snake side, is to teach the dude when to engage and when not to engage. Because I thought one of the best things that JC did sometimes was he would get in a spot and he would just chill. He'd get into snake 3. I'm not sure what you guys were calling that, but you had like we had outside snake 1 and outside snake, inside snake 1, then snake 2, and then snake 3. But between, and then sometimes you guys would double up that outside snake 2 position and then get to that snake 3. But a lot of times JC would just get in there and just pump the brakes for a second, totally understanding, hey, we have a lead. I don't really need to engage much. And then slowly but surely work his way downfield, get a crossfield kill, drop the hammer when he needed to, work with Tyler, get the comms. It was just that 1-2 punch of Tyler and JC was literally unbeatable for you guys. No one beat you guys. I mean, your plus minus for the event was a plus 13, and you guys didn't play a ton of points. It's like you only had 3 points scored on you in the prelims. Sea Dogs put up 1. NYX, that was a close battle. That was a fun game to watch. 3-2 in that one. But you shut out Shock, you shut out the Tontons, and then you beat Damage by 1, beat Uprising by 1, and then beat X Factor by 3. But you put up 5 points in a row on X Factor before they won some scramble points towards the end. So it was literally 5-0 with like 2.5 minutes left in that match. And it was just that, yeah. I mean, so talk to me about what JC was doing for you guys, because I feel like he was just incredibly fundamental to the overall success of the squad.
JC's so good at playing the line, right? Like not too fast, not too slow. Like we need him to go, like it's almost tough to coach someone to this way. You're like, hey man, you went too fast. Hey man, you went too slow. You need to play perfect. Totally, yeah. And JC played perfect, yeah. Right? Like he played the cross when he needed to play the cross. There's times where I watched the coaches show where they broke down and JC just got up and ran down Matt, or ran down a guy, and it just was the perfect moment to do it. And he didn't miss, right? Like hit him with the first ball rather than leave that threat in there. He's been playing this game at such a high level as the Bulldog, and there's maybe like he's in the category of 2 guys that keep going to the snake off the break. They keep doing it over and over. Billy and JC, like, they're older and they still have that ability to do it at the highest level. And I mean, he was perfect. He stayed alive when he needed to. He talked when he needed to. And, he does a good job too of like during those prelim games, sometimes, me and Nick would hold down the cross and we would just let JC and Tyler do their thing. I'd kind of comfort the Dorito guy, whether it's Dalton or Brandon, and then filter out. And I felt like throughout that event, I wasn't doing the best job of taking over Tyler's or JC's role. So after the game's like, hey man, you need to get over here a little quicker. Hey, you need, when you want to battle down the wire, you need to be leaning out more. I need you to press it a little more here, right? So being able to have those guys play at such a high level makes me play at a high level, because now because as a 3, you got to play everywhere. So now during the event, like JC can just kind of be like, hey man, you need to be doing this. Like when I'm in here, you need to play like me. So the whole time I'm trying to like, I'm in there holding a zone, but trying to pay attention to what they're doing, not just to keep track of them, but also to learn for myself for when I am in those situations. How is JC playing the snake? How is Tyler playing the snake? How do I need to morph myself into that role when I'm in those moments? But JC is just like, he's truly one of the smartest guys on our team and has such a high paintball IQ. It's crazy because like back in the day on Impact, he would miss a practice, show up, and start yelling at people what they're doing wrong, what they need to be doing. And most people would be like, oh, I missed practice, I should be quiet. But JC is like, he was right. Like he was dead on. Like he's never really wrong. He's like, most of the time he's pretty much right and spot on about what he's saying. And that just is like a testament to how good and how smart and how high his paintball IQ is. And so for him to go out there and execute, I think it was just everybody having faith and JC having faith in his teammates and just willing to go for it, willing not to go for it.
Yeah. So, Darren, if we could rack up that play though, this is one I kind of want to bring in you to the mix though. So yeah, I mean, it takes a team to win a tournament, but let's just watch this out. Let me set the stage here. You can see here on the clock, there's 7 minutes and 50 seconds left. We are in the second half. It is 2-0. It was a very low scoring affair. Obviously it was a slower field, very tactical. You guys thrived in this situation. Again, as we've been breaking this down, his full control over the beats of the action, playing specifically to it. So yeah, let's just watch this out. It's 5-on-5 here currently, and you're going to lose both Tyler and you're going to lose JC. So I'm going to give it over to you here, Raney, and talk me through your situation and what you were dealing with. This was huge. If you guys don't win this one, it's 2-1 with a lot of time on the clock here. Maybe it's a totally different game.
So I don't know if Tyler actually got shot here. I think he just got pulled for that paint on his leg that he slid down on. JC tries to make the move. Colt picks him up. And then right there, okay, that's the crucial shot. Archie got shot by Nick. And at one point, I looked at Nick. Nick's getting like this. He pulled off the shot on Archie. I think Archie bounces his arm. I, at one point, looked out of the home. Archie standing over the top on me. And it was like, oh, I could see the light closing. Like, we were done. And Nick hits that shot, and then I kind of noticed no pressures on me. So I'm able to sneak out wide. I think Colt picked it up. I didn't know if he knew I was there. I didn't even know 100% knew exactly where he was at. He knew I was in the wall.
I don't think he picked it up.
I hear it on the audio. He didn't pick this up. But you can hear him on the audio say the 1, which to them is back left. And then I got in the snake, looked down the wire, kind of kept an eye on Billy. Billy wasn't battling me. He wasn't checking me off. I go up and bunker him and just like get him off the field. And there we go. Nick shoots him. Pause it. Okay, do pause it for a second. So a lot happened right there. So when I get into the corner, I didn't think Colt knew, but you can hear him say it. And then I start crawling down the wire, and I basically got to the next knuckle of the snake, and I went around snake 2, which is the one right before the gap, right? So the snake 2, what you were talking about, snake 3. I was expecting to get shot at between snake 2 and snake 3. So when I make that crawl and nobody shoots at me, it feels like nobody's watching Billy, right? Or they don't have a good angle. If somebody shoots at me, I have to pause there. If Billy looks down the wire, I have to pause there. As you can see, I can still see Billy's shadow. So when I go to snake 3, I recognize that I didn't get shot at. And I was like, I think if I crawl fast, I can for sure get Billy. And then maybe Colt will see me, but I'll be able to get Billy off the field. And in my head, I was like operating with like free money, right? Like we should have lost this point. We were down 5-on-3. At one point I was in the home, balls are skimming off the back of my head, and I'm able to sneak out and just stab Billy. And it seemed like that crawl was slow-mo. I could see him. I was like, please just get there. Just get there. I popped up, barely get missed by Colt, crawl backwards just so I could like kind of get a better angle to watch. And I believe Brandon hits a clutch shot with TJ try to counterfill. TJ tries to counterfill. Brandon shoots that. Nobody saw Nick slide in the home. Nick ends up shooting Silos at the end. Brandon wrapped and shot Colt. And then Silos traded with Brandon. And, again, back to what I was talking about, JC, this is all credit to them. So after the first half, The second point we lost, we didn't lose it, but we didn't win the 5-on-3. And I could have pressed it. And that was kind of the thing that Tyler and JC were putting on me. Like, hey, man, we could have pressed it. And I was like, I knew it. I knew we could have won that point. There was another time like during it where I could have won it. So that's in the back of my head, like, hey, like we should win it. So I knew Tyler died. I know JC died. And it's like, I don't want to go out there and not press it. So it's like, I might as well go for it. If we lose, we're still 2-1. But if we win there, it's 3-0. It's pretty much game over. So it's a no pressure move for me. It's a point we should lose. So if we steal this point, in my head, it's going to seal the match. So that's why, like, I got out there and I just had no, really all those little cues were there. I just didn't hesitate. Billy wasn't looking down the wire. Nobody shot at me. It just seemed like there's that portal leading right to go bunker him. And, again, it was JC and Tyler being like, in the back of my head, what would they do in this situation? How would JC play it? JC would go for it, right? So it's like, I might as well go for it here.
It was just awesome, man, because, again, as a paintball fan, somebody that played the game for a long time, a coach, it's just, that's what I want to see, man. It's like, look, we're in a 35. We have a 2-point lead, and if you play your cards right, I'm using that analogy for you specifically, but if you play your cards right in this situation and you risk something, it's like, I'm not going to concede this, but what are our options here? We either try to hold them off from back positions and hope they make big mistakes, maybe catch a penalty, which that does happen. But if you can find a way to get out wide first, so what's the first step here? All right, get out of that back center and try to spread the field. So you did that. Okay. And then, as we're always saying, I'm sure you say this to your guys too when you're coaching, you got to be able to read pressure. If you're not feeling pressure, meaning who's shooting at you, pressure means like, okay, who's actually putting paintballs on me? Where are they being shot from? Why are they shooting those balls at me? Are they trying to engage me in a gunfight? They're trying to contain me. Are they trying to contain me? Where is this pressure actually going? But if you get to a spot and you don't feel any pressure, like you said, okay, well, cool. Now I'm not being stopped. And I need to, and what's the crucial piece in the puzzle for me? What's my biggest threat? Billy's my biggest threat. They have outside containment. We have no one outside wide. So get outside. And if possible, get that guy off the field. So the fact that you went out there so it's like at the checklist, it's like, all right, I have to get outside. Boom, check. I get outside wide. Still feeling no pressure because of the way the cross was and how everyone was engaging. And also, as we're always trying to say, I'm sure you say this to your guys too, you have to feel the beat of the moment in the match. Okay, so there's these certain beats, certain moments that happen in a match. Okay, so when we shoot two bodies off one side, we want to try to contain someone from making that move. So that's a big mistake for X Factor, because now we have Billy all the way up on that side. We have Colt with Overwatch over him. So we have a good cross there. Someone else has to now pick that up or put themselves in a position where they can watch and make sure you don't fill out. They didn't do that. So now you fill out. Now you're feeling no pressure. You make the move up, and then you crawl up and stitch up Billy, and you did it in such a timely manner that they didn't have time to reposition their guns and their angles. It was just, dude, it was like paintball PhD level execution. And it was like, once that happened, now it's 3-0, and now they're in a really terrible spot. They're chasing points. They still have a decent amount of time left, but, given the amount of time, now we're sitting on a slower field with down 3-0. Our pace is going to be 2:20-ish left to go, maybe around 2 minutes left to go. And now it puts them in a drastic disadvantage. If you don't make that move, if you don't get that kill, and again, hats up, dude, Nick played lights out the entire event. Nick Laval has been is just constantly impressive during his tenure. When he came up the ranks, he was impressive, became a star, got picked up from Impact, and he has been a core member of that starting line now for years. Nick Laval is a beast. And he, like you said, and that was when I rewatched it a bunch of times. I couldn't definitively tell who shot Archie, but that was also a crucial moment in this situation as well too, because getting that kill. So now you take Archie off the field, and now it's just Billy. So Billy as the hinge over here on the snake side, with every other body way over to middle, with Colt over, and then 2 on the D side. Once you make that move and kill Billy, now you've swung the field. Now you guys have the cross field spread. Even if the count's even, it doesn't matter. You have the tactical advantage in that situation. It was just, we could spend an hour and a half just breaking down, a couple points here at that situation, but it was just, that was the moment. That was the moment that needed to happen right there. And that's why guys like yourself are worth their weight in gold, because yes, JC and Tyler were playing at an 11 of 10 the entire event, and they are a huge reason you guys had this win. But occasionally it comes down to a moment where a back player needs to do something miraculous in a low body situation and get an assist from somebody else cross field. So with Nick stepping up and Brandon staying alive the way he did in a really tough situation as well too. Bro, chef's kiss. Beautiful job, Raney. Excellent. That was just
Thank you.
perfectly beautiful. I know there's no question,
again,
no question there. I'm just giving you my admiration for a job well done, dude.
No, I appreciate that. And, you know, again, it's all credit to like the culture of our team, right? Having confidence. Like if I die, I can go into the pit knowing like, hey, don't worry about it. We're still 2-1, right? And that's kind of what we've been implementing. Like, hey, let's play to win. Let's have faith in our guys that they make the correct moves. You know, there's a time where Nick stepped out wide and shot a guy down the wire. I think it's the next point. Like there's a few points against X Factor that we should have maybe lost. And it's guys like JC going for it when we're up points, going and bunkering out a guy. And it's just us just all buying in and having confidence that if we need somebody to go step up and make a shot, we're going to do it. If we need JC to battle, we're going to do it. If Tyler needs a gunfight, he's going to do it, right? And that's when paintball is almost easy, right? You just have complete blind faith in the other guy across field doing it. And, you know, sometimes you don't have to make those moves, but sometimes you got to just make the move, right? And that's kind of what happened, right?
No, yeah, that's exactly what happened. It was just, again, it's just undefeated performance for you guys. So let's talk about World Cup and how things are shaking out for that a little bit before I let you go. But yeah, I mean, you know, with the way you guys have handled it this year, only losing one game in the prelims, you're going to get the bye. We're looking at the draw here for the fifth and final event, biggest event of the year. And again, guys, if you're just getting into paintball or getting initiated into this sport, World Cup really is something special. So Raney, I would ask you that, like, what is different about World Cup? We have this conversation every year, you know, and some people are like, oh, it's just another tournament. I'm like, yeah, you probably haven't played a World Cup at a high level if you think this is just another tournament. Maybe you agree. I don't know. What do you think? Is that how you look at it? And I would also, because you and I, obviously, we've coached against each other a bunch of times in the WCPPL. I've known you forever, and, you know, we'll talk about stuff, but, you know, you were saying something like to one of your teammates, you're like, because you'll go play some points against your teams that you coach occasionally, and you're like, yeah, dude, you know, you're going to shoot me occasionally out here in these points, but let's drop you in, let's parachute you into World Cup on Sunday. We're deep in the tournament. There's all the fans, there's the webcast, there's that tournament pressure. It's just it takes a different animal to be able to succeed with all of those other things going on. So maybe talk to me about that. Like, what is different about that?
Well, the obvious things, right? One, it's the biggest event in the world, right? So there's more vendors, there's more people. People stay after the event. People like were kind of criticizing us, you know, when we're celebrating after the Texas one, there's nobody in the background. I'm like, well, Dallas is the easy one to fly out of. You know, people from South America fly in, people from, you see here, people from Sweden are going to fly in, people from New England. Like everybody's coming to World Cup. If you're going to play one tournament and you're not from the States, this is the tournament to come to. Okay, so that one, there's more vendors there, right? The venue is just larger than can be. It's double points. There's more teams. It's the longest amount of time till the next event. It's like the cap of the year, you know. So all those things add into it, and it's a longer tournament. You know, like World Cup is a special event because of that, and it's one of the venues that doesn't change. You know, the first event could be here, it could be there, it could be wherever. So, and it's you've worked all year almost to like kind of get to this moment. And if you can be successful, you feel like the whole year wasn't a waste. But if you struggled or if you did well and you lost at World Cup, it almost doesn't feel as satisfying. You know, there's times where I've won the series, but we've gotten third, and it doesn't taste as good as winning World Cup and winning the series or just winning World Cup. So World Cup's a special animal in that, and everyone is focused, right? Like if anybody in that pro division is going to miss a tournament, it's going to be the second or third or fourth event, maybe the first, but they're definitely not going to miss World Cup. You'll see guys play hurt at World Cup because they're like, you know what, man, I got a long time after World Cup to recover. I don't want to miss World Cup. So there's a lot of weight on the line for that reason, and double the points, right? Double the points is mathematically just kind of puts more weight on this tournament too.
Well, let me ask you this question then first, as we dip into this World Cup conversation. Also, we guys, you know, from Major League Paintball Plus, got a lot of content coming at you to hype up this event. There's a lot of stories here. We're going to be also doing a lot of these podcasts in the lead up to the event as well, too, with more of the leading lights here in the pro division, kind of discussing all these different narratives at different levels, too. You know, so essentially at the bottom of your screen, you got Russian Legion, Fit, Impact, and Breakout spots. So Breakout coming over from Europe, winning the series title over there. And those teams all essentially get a bye into the deeper rounds. So they're going to play a seeding round. And there's been, so this is kind of my first question here, Raney, is that this has been a conversation, is that seeding round doesn't really have a much at stake, because who you play coming out of that seeding round, you don't know who it's going to be. You know, we'll get into these brackets here, but you're in no matter what, right? So you're playing these tune-up games. You've been in this situation before. You keep playing on all these top teams. Talk to me about the mindset and like how you're trying to stay mentally focused, knowing that no matter what, like you literally roll up, lose every one of those games, you're still in. What's going on in your mind in these situations here, playing these seeding games?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily like being in this. I've done both. One year when World Cup had weather issues, you only had 3 prelim matches as one of the teams out of it. So you had what I call the death sweat. It's like if you lose, you're done. You can't lose a game. So you don't have the death sweat there. You're not playing moves with, repercussions. You don't like, if you get a penalty, you make a mistake, you lose a match, you lose an overtime, you lose the one-on-one, the move doesn't work out. You don't have that pressure building, right? So you haven't mentally been there the whole time. There's been teams that have won it. Dynasty's won it out of this. Paintball Fit won it last year out of not out of this division. I'm trying to think the year before. I think Dynasty's won it twice out of this bracket. How many years have they done this? This is their 4th year or 3rd year?
I think it's the 4th year.
Maybe
I can go back and look real quick.
4th year?
Yeah, but
well, then Dynasty's won it twice out of that bracket.
Yeah, I think because this has been this kind of point of conversation. It's like cool to get, all right, sweet. We don't really have anything at stake. We're a top team. Let's play against the other top team. So you're tuning up against the best teams in the world. Because Legion, Fit, Impact, and Breakout are all going to play each other in these seeding games to see who's going to be 1 through 4. And then based on what happens in these other 4 divisions, they're going to get seeded against those squads. So you're getting your tune-up games against the other best teams. So it's difficult, but nothing's at stake because you're making it on no matter what. Whereas anyone you play coming out of, like you said, all the teams in the death sweat, it's like every game that these dudes play in these 4 divisions, Group A through D, are going to be having your quote-unquote death sweats. That's great. I'm stealing that for sure. Definitely saying that during World Cup. But yeah, I mean, so they got the death sweat going on the entire time because, it's like Dynasty just had to bow out. So they win the 3-man and then they go 1-3 in the prelims and don't make Sunday for the first time. They don't want to recreate that at World Cup, most important event of the year. They're going to have the death sweats even at the top of their division. And look at that division. And we'll get to this in a second, but is Dynasty damage shock as the 1, 2, and 3 with Sea Dogs who've won events, and then Joy Division? Joy Division is nasty, dude. Joy Division won a tournament overseas.
Wild card.
Yeah, no wild card. Top 2 only, dude. Top 2 only. Like, this is going to be must-see TV for all paintball fans. I can't wait till Cup. I love World Cup. World Cup is it's just a special weekend, man. It really is. Just because, like you said, even as a fan and, the commentator, I'm sitting up there and there's just so much at stake. Because if you win this, like it's so hard to win a World Cup. I have won a World Cup, so I know how special it is if you win it. And there's just so much there. We could spend a ton of time even just talking about that. But you guys are going to be playing against the best teams in the world for seeding. Yeah, it's the best teams in the world, but there's literally no pressure because it doesn't matter what you do. Like you said, like this move I make, we get a 1-for-1, we get a penalty. Who cares, dude? We're in no matter what. So you're kind of just tuning up to play these teams who are it's literally as cutthroat as it gets. No wild card, nasty ass brackets, and and that's kind of why now you're playing a team that's been on the precipice of disaster sometimes for 3 days straight because it's a longer event, and they're, like you said, already zoned in completely. And we always are trying to, as coaches, try to tell guys like that, as General Mattis once said, the 6 inches between your ears are the most important place on the battlefield. So they're totally locked into what they need to do to get into that winning mindset. And if they, do well through prelims, face a little adversity, but by the time they reach you guys who have been, potentially having, some no repercussions pillow fights, even though it's against top teams, it can bite you sometimes. So that's why I just want to kind of start the conversation with that to get, somebody that's been there on both sides of this now a little bit.
Yeah, I think last year we lost. Last year Damage lost to. Oh, so this is the 4th year because I did it twice on Damage. Where 1 year we lost to Revo, and then last year we weren't in it and we lost to Fit, and the year before it, 3 years before that, X Factor lost to Heat. But yeah, like it's a weird thing because the guys that make it out of this bracket have already had moments where they're like, oh, it's over. Oh, we're here. We're playing with house money. Like, we shouldn't be here. We could have been eliminated. You know, you look at a Group C, you know, Tontons are probably the favorite, and Hurricanes had a good event last event, but you could see a Diesel in there. Or, you know, any of those teams could randomly be in there. Like, Leverage just beat Dynasty. Maybe they have a good tournament and they go out and they beat a Hurricanes or Tontons, and now they beat Diesel, and now they're in there, and somehow they're in there, and then, you know, they're playing with house money. They win one game on Sunday. Now you're playing them, and they got nothing to lose, and maybe you didn't, you know, have the best matches against Breakout or Fit or Russians, you know, and that could be a scary thing because you feel like you have something more to lose. Like, you're up money, but really you end up at the same place. It's like going to the casino. It's like you started up money and now you're down, and then the other team started down money and now they're back to even. But you're both at the same spot, but you mentally got there in two different, you know, routes. So it could be dangerous. But, you know, you look at Dynasty, who's won it twice. You just have to approach it like every other time. You know, you got to be hypercritical of yourself. You got to be honest with yourself and just kind of be truthful if you're making mistakes or who's playing well. And, you know, sometimes the coaching staff lets up, maybe mixes up the lines, maybe does this, they haven't figured it out. So it's one of those things where you have to come in and play each game. Like, losing this game hurts. You know, you have to take it serious. You can't go to that spot. And luckily our team's filled with veterans and a better coaching staff. So that shouldn't be an issue with us. It'll be interesting to see how Breakout does. Breakout's been good this year, but they got no Skinny and no US Pro. So it'll be interesting to see how that bracket plays out. But it will be nice to play the Russians and Fit, you know, the two of the three teams we've lost to this year. And, you know, to go out there and not have them send us home. And maybe it could benefit us to play them in a no pressure situation and play with them and find that mindset. Like, hey, there's no pressure playing these dudes, right? Let's just remember this moment when we do play them in an elimination match and how we took the pressure off. So it could benefit us.
Yeah, again, you guys haven't really had any, I mean, as far as like rivalries this year, I mean, to be honest, the team that you're, you know, your biggest rival this year, to be honest, is Legion, because Legion's beat you twice. You've only lost 4 games all season, and 2 of them to Legion. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I was just going to say, and the spread has not been kind to you guys. You know, your only mercy rule loss this year was against Legion in the quarterfinals in Atlantic City, and then you lost by 4. So you're sitting at a -10 overall, and your plus minus for the year is a plus 27. So 10 of your negative points in a plus 27 situation for the year have come against Legion. So that's a big game. And when people look at these seeding games and these tune-up games for the top level, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. But when Impact plays Russian Legion, they play Red Legion, that's a big game because, again, it's been a rough one for you guys. They're the only team that's really given you that many problems. And so that specific game in the prelims is massive for you, and it's massive for them. Because if you find a way to crack their code, which you guys haven't yet, because they like to, you know, you guys like to control that. That to me is the question, is that you guys like to control the game in every single angle. You guys have very, very thorough communication, very thorough understanding of the angles, and are very calculated about the moves you make. They take tons of more risk than you guys do, and that has benefited them. Everyone else it's worked against, literally every other team in the league, yeah, you've lost a couple other games. 2 other teams have beat you this year, all year through 4 events. But that to me is a very interesting story heading into World Cup. You know, that Impact stylistic matchup, you know, as they say, styles make fights, styles definitely make gunfights too. And so that Impact Legion lineup, depending on where things shake off for Sunday and what part of the bracket you guys end up in, and who has to play who, are you guys going to be on the same side of the bracket, different side of the bracket? We will see. But Raney, before I let you go, let me pick your brain about these different groups here. You know, so we got Group B or A, B, C, and D. Obviously, you know, when we have these conversations, this is a little bit of a routine. It's who do you think is going to make it through, and what do you think is the hardest bracket? We'll start with Group A. So we got X Factor, Arsenal, Ironman, Aftermath, and Lucky 15s.
A is a tough bracket too. I think B is obviously the toughest, but I think A is a very tough bracket, right? X Factor's on top of their game. They're you know, the favorite in this bracket. Arsenal, I've been practicing against a bunch this year, and they're a really good team, have a bunch of talent, very deep roster. The Ironman, are capable. They have a lot of good players. They have Tom Guest, who's been playing well. They picked up Donaldson, who played a couple points with them. And had some big points, I should say, against the Russians when he's on that team. So, like, they could be very dangerous. The team that's going to be a little bit weaker is Aftermath because they are losing Greeny and what's his name? McCowan to Lucky.
McGowan.
McGowan. And he's been helping them, like fundamentally, strategically. I mean, like, he's been helping them with game plans, doing things. He's a smart dude. And Lucky's, they lost Marcel as a coach, and then they won. And I think that just instilled a bunch of confidence in them. And they're going to be a tough team. And, like, Lucky's could easily make it out of this bracket. Like, there's no reason why they don't feel like they can come over here and beat 3 out of these 4 teams, if not all of them, and move on. And that's going to, make some upsets. It's like, all right, well, then who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? Like, is X Factor can't go 2-2, right? They need to come out and win 3-1, 4-0. And so with that wild card, I mean, I would say X Factor is the favorite. And, if I would like to see the betting odds, because if the odds were correct, I'd probably take Lucky's to make it out. Like, if they gave me the right price. I think there's a lot of teams that could give you the right price to bet on to make it out of this bracket.
No, I love that breakdown because I agree. I totally agree. If you get Greeny back there, you get, McGowan, you get these dudes that are just, and then the confidence, they won an event this year, finally. And that team has been full of young up and coming stars. We've seen them overseas, or we've seen them come from overseas to the World Cup before and compete at a high level overseas in Europe. And I think that they're a dark horse in that bracket. So, and also, because of the relationship between Aftermath and Lucky 15s in the first 4 events, Lucky 15s are going to know strategically and tactically what Aftermath likes to do. So they're going to be very prepared for that game. And so if you can beat the team that's down in the division with you, I also agree with your estimations of the potential for Ironman. That's a team that's, I think, been punching a little bit below their talent level all season long. They did take 19th at the last event. They lost every single game, went to a -12. Did make a Sunday this year at the 3rd event, but a 12th, 11th. They've been right on the precipice of making Sunday, except for that last event. So underperforming. And this is their last event, at least with that squad. And Ironman have been doing everything they possibly can to put a competitive team out there the past couple seasons. They revamped the roster this last off season, so they could come out swinging. And then Arsenal has been hit or miss this year. It was 14th at the first event, 13th at the 3rd event, but then a 5th and a 6th. Also, love that roster as well too. They pick up Spica, and then X Factor has been doing nothing but getting better all year. 10th, 6th, 4th, 2nd. Lost to you guys in the finals, and had a scrappy performance to get there. I mean, they really did. X Factor went 2-2 in the prelims. It was very dicey for them to make Sunday. They had to play out of the wild card round. They won 3 games in a row, very close battles, in order to have the right to play you guys in the finals. So I love their chances in this one. That's a very fascinating. I'm really interested about the stories that are going to happen in that specific group. But if I gun to your head though, Raney, the 2 teams that make it out, who do you think? You think it's going to be Lucky 15s and X Factor, or do you you are a betting man? So who would you pick? I know you said that you take the odd.
So the thing I just figured out that I like about being in the bracket that I'm in is that if you look at it, only 2 of these teams are making out. So good teams be eliminated. Like, you don't have to play an X Factor in the next round. You don't have to play an Arsenal the next round. If the Ironman got hot, Aftermath, if it's a slow field and they get it, like, there's going to be teams eliminated. I'm going to go, Arsenal's been, he's at 13th, 14th, but it's like a new roster. They added new bodies in. They're figuring it out.
Yeah, but 5th and a 6th. Spica, 5th and a 6th.
That's what I'm saying. They figured it out. Like, they went 13th, 14th, and then they've kind of figured it out and understand what they need to do. But man, I'm going Lucky's and X Factor.
I like the call of Lucky's coming out of this one. It's tough though. I would love to see the odds. If I had to make odds on that, I don't know. You're a gambling man. Let me ask you, what do you think legit odds are if this were Vegas and the Lucky 15's chance to make Sunday, not to win the event, but just chance to get through this bracket? What's a legit betting line for this?
So X Factor would be a favorite, so you wouldn't
bet
get good
100
money.
Win what?
Arsenal.
Bet 100 win what?
So you would have to bet, no. So it'd be like minus for X Factor. It'd be like minus 250. You'd have to bet 250 to win 100. Arsenal would
No,
be
I'm,
like
I'm talking about Lucky 15.
minus. No, I know. I'm just thinking how it would go down. So then
Oh,
Arsenal would be like
you're
minus
going, okay, yeah.
140, 130. Yeah. So then Ironman, okay, Aftermath. I think Lucky's would be, I don't know if the odd makers would do it correct. And it's also where the money's going. I could see them like plus 130, plus 140. Like, I think it'd be, but it could start off bad. So like, yeah, I think it's like plus 130, plus 140.
That's for Ironman or for
So you got 100, 140. That's for Luckies. I skipped Ironman and Aftermath. I was just thinking like the favorites. Ironman are probably like plus 235. Aftermath's plus like 300, 285. So Luckies are plus 135. You need to balance it out. So I'm saying they're plus 140. You got to bet 100, you win 140.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm just, so you're saying that you think that Lucky 15s have a better chance of making it than both Ironman. Why? Aftermath, excuse me. Ironman have had a little bit better year. Aftermath's had a rough year. Aftermath has not made a Sunday. So Aftermath's overall plus minus, they have not made a Sunday. They've only won 3 games this year, and they're sitting at a negative 26. Now through 4 events, not winning many games, a plus 26 isn't terrible considering, NYX is down at a negative 40 with the 2-14. Leverage is at a negative 46 with a 2-14. Energy Elite has not won a game this year. They're sitting at a negative 32. They did have a lot of close losses as well too. But Aftermath with that 3-13, negative 26. And then Ironman are sitting at a negative 2 or negative 15, negative 2 on Sunday.
Luckies,
sorry, go ahead.
They've had a consistent roster over anybody in that bracket, even X Factor, even Arsenal. Their roster probably been more consistent minus their coaching change. So they've been used to it. It's not like they're putting together, they're missing a big American piece coming over, they're missing something, and they've won this year. They've gone all the way through it. They've gotten it off their back. They have a guy that's been over in the States watching. They have a guy that's been over the States playing the whole year, right? They've been over here before. They've upset teams before. Like, I'm probably jinxing them by talking about it. They're like, oh, we're good. We're going to go 0-4 now, But,
well, no, and also Raney, and they have some intel on the team they're playing in the prelims. If it was Sea Dogs or Leverage or New York Extreme sitting in tier 4, yeah, they have a little bit of an edge in that game. So Lucky 15s have been a top team overseas in Europe all year long. Obviously enough to get the nod to be invited over, not invited, but to earn the right to play at the World Cup. And the team they played with, that a couple guys played with, was Aftermath. And Aftermath has had a rough year. So I would definitely give Lucky 15s, even though they're sitting at tier 5, I would give the advantage for sure in the odds over Aftermath. I think the big question here is, if we were just going to go, what are the odds in that Lucky 15s Ironman match? Would you put Lucky 15s as the betting favorite in that one?
Well, when do they play each other's schedule? So if they're playing first game of the day, then it would probably be, Lucky's would be a slight favorite with Ironman, a slight dog. Like, you probably wouldn't give anybody, like, it'd almost be an even money bet. So it'd probably be like Ironman minus, Ironman plus 105 and Lucky's minus like 125. So there's a little bit of the big.
Yeah,
it's not like you're good. There's a big advantage.
Yeah, it's like a pick 'em for sure. All right, well, let's head into what I think we both agree is the bracket of death. I think Group B is the bracket of death. I think that's just a disgusting bracket, which is kind of rough if you're Damage or Dynasty, because now you have to play, or Shock, or whatever, any of these teams, Joy Division. If I'm Joy Division and I'm like, oh man, okay, we won an event overseas, and who do we have to play to get out of this? Okay, well, now we got Dynasty, Damage, Shock, Sea Dogs, who, so the Sea Dogs have made a Sunday. They're 5-12 for the year with a negative 16 overall. That's not bad, man. A negative 3 on Sunday. That's pretty good for a rookie pro team, man. I don't know how it's, I think it's unarguable that Group B is the bracket of death. What do you think?
Yeah, okay, so Royal City Sea Dogs, I think, beat Damage in the third event, and we played them last event, and they're not an easy game, and they're playing with confidence. It's a bunch of Canadians. They went over and played in USA or the Nations Cup. We played against them. We battled them. There's tough games. So they're not an easy game. It's not like you're playing a bottom tier team. Like, they're a team that is capable of beating any of these teams. Now, Joy, here's the caveats for this division. Joy is a very tough team and is very good, but they have Harrison's been a big part of their team for the last several seasons. And they're not going to have Harrison. And Harrison, he helps them. Joy won a tournament over there. So Joy's not as strong as they normally be. Aftershock, they're capable of being the 1 seed in this bracket and beating everybody. Something seems a little bit off with them. They've been a little bit off all year. Something is just not right. Now, Damage, they have, one of the most talented teams in paintball right now. They have a stacked roster. Definitely kind of underperformed the last 2 events, but I think with that team, it just takes time. So, do they show up and just 4-0 everybody? Do they find themselves in a situation where they lost a close game? And then Dynasty is Dynasty, right? They replenished the roster after losing Sheer, Skinny, Marcelo, and Archie. And they got to the finals. Yeah, they got to the finals the first event. So they kind of had a rough event last tournament. But it seems like everyone has a little bit of something that could go against them or something that could go for them. But, man, it's anybody can almost beat anybody in this division or this bracket.
Well, they had a rough event, but they won the 3-man. So it's a super bittersweet moment for them in Texas because they win the 3-man and then they go 1-3 and miss Sunday in the big event, in the 5-on-5, what everyone's there to do. I mean, 3-man's cool. And I think that we're going to see how that story is going to continue, I think, but it's probably going to be its own. It already is its own thing. But anyway, so that's a bittersweet moment for them. And so it's like, but that it does create an interesting story for them. And then Damage with their roster. I mean, you've been on Damage, you know those players very, very well. You know that that organization very, very well. And it is tough. It does take some time once whether it doesn't matter who you're picking up. If you're picking up superstars, it still does take some time to kind of get those guys to coalesce and work together. And then, what are your thoughts on Shock, though? I mean, I don't know. It's just, you could paint this so many different ways. We could spend an hour talking about this bracket, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot going on in this bracket.
Yeah, Shock. I don't know. It seems like I was telling someone this other day. Shock when I was on Damage, that was a team that I didn't want to play on Sunday. I was like, I didn't want to play Shock, and because I don't think they matched up well. We didn't match up well against them. And Russians, right? Every other team, if we played, I was like, we're going to beat them and win the tournament. So when we didn't have to play Shock, but it was like after Chicago of last year when they played that Dynasty, it became a bloodbath. It seemed like that's what became their identity. Whereas like when I played them, they would kind of play this slow style and they just sit there on you. And that's like kind of scary. So it'll be interesting to see what Shock shows up, and I mean, Todd's leading the ship, both Todds. And they have, really good paintball players on their team. Like there's no holes in their roster. So I think it just comes down to them of like what Shock shows up to Cup. And like, I mean, they could easily go out there and, beat Dynasty, beat Damage, and have all those other 4 teams fighting for the second spot out of there. So, I mean, that's why this bracket's so dangerous because you look at Dynasty, Damage, Aftershock. Those are 3 teams that are, capable of making it to the finals and winning the tournament. And each team has guys on their team that have won pro tournaments. So that's what makes it dangerous is you have those 3 teams with 2 spots, and then you have the Sea Dogs that have been playing well and giving everybody good games and have beaten some of these teams. And then you have Joy. So there's no game in there where you're like, all right, this is easy. It's like you could have it where it's, a bunch of teams are just beating each other and it comes down to margin.
I'll tell you what, Raney, and you tell me if you disagree, but if I was on your team or if I was on Legion, Fit, or Breakout, when we get to Sundays, when things, when the paintball gods have decided who's going to be playing who on Sunday, I don't want to play anyone that came out of Group B. I'm like, give me one of these other teams, at least to start out, like at least to start out on Sunday. Like, I don't want to play any one of those teams because like you just broken down, like that's going to be a nasty group of prelim games in Group B because everyone's got a pretty good story here. I mean, again, even the Sea Dogs, Sea Dogs have made a Sunday and they have won 5 games this year. And their plus minus on Sunday is only a -3, so like they didn't get completely destroyed on Sunday. So that's when I look at how this all shakes out, like whoever we end up playing, at least early on in Sunday, having played these, seeding games, and when it doesn't mean anything, I don't want to play anyone from Group B. I'd rather play anyone from any of these other groups. You agree or disagree? Or you're like, just line them up. We got to beat them anyway.
I mean, at some point you got to beat them, but maybe you luck out and, Russian plays Dynasty and Russians beat Dynasty, and then Russians play Fit and Fit beats, so sometimes you can luck out and play them, but yeah, I mean, that's the benefit of playing the Death Sweat. You make it out of there and you're like, okay, like you're coming out with some confidence. Like we could have easily not made it out of here, and now we're out of here. Like bring on, like I'm sure whoever makes it out of the bracket's not going to be, worried about whoever they play on the next round.
100%. They're going to be chomping at the bit. They're like, line them up, dude. It doesn't matter. We got to play one of these teams anyway, so who cares? Now, so let's move on to Group C and Group D. Tontons, Hurricanes, Diesel, Leverage, and how am I pronouncing this? I think it's Paper, actually, in English. I did the translation, and I was like, Papera. I'm like, what does that mean? Is that they got a lizard on their graphic? I'm like, what does this mean? It just means paper in English. But they are the South American champs, so they have earned the right to play in here. But anytime that this happens, this has obviously happened now throughout the past couple seasons, when you draw that team in your division, you got to put up, ideally on paper, if you're Tontons, Hurricanes, Diesel, or Leverage, knowing that they're punching up a weight class here, you got to put up a big number on them. That's the goal, at least, if you're in that division.
Yeah, but not necessarily too. Yes, but if it comes down to a 3-way tie, they don't add those points in, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter if it's Tontons, Hurricane, and Diesel in a 3-way tie. Obviously, the Tontons are the favorite. Hurricanes are probably the second favorite. But Leverage just beat Dynasty, so they're going to come in on, with a lot of confidence. This is their, the biggest tournament, World Cup. So they've been kind of like getting their, beatings this year. I think some of the events, Chris Caputo hadn't been there, their first event. They didn't have everyone there. So I imagine they're going to go full force. They're going to have everybody there. They'll probably play maybe a little bit of extra practice. And then Diesel, they went through a big culture change of losing all the hired guns. And last event, they went 2-2 and they beat X Factor. They beat a team that made it to the finals. So that has to be sitting in the back of their head. They could have easily made Sunday. And, for them to think like they can't go beat the Tontons or Hurricanes, I mean, I don't think that thought's in there. I think they have guys that have, you looked at them last year, step up at World Cup. Guys played, really well that are still on that roster. So, and they made it through last event with the penalty, with bodies down. Certain guys couldn't play. So Diesel is a wild card in that bracket. I mean, obviously Tontons, Hurricanes are the favorite, but Diesel could make it out, and Leverage could make it out, which would be a crazy story if Leverage went from, I think that was their second win, right? They beat somebody and then they beat Dynasty. I can't remember who had looked it up because I thought that was their first win when they beat Dynasty, but it was their second. I believe they beat. Uprising. They beat Uprising.
Yeah,
I think it's Uprising.
I'll confirm it here. Yeah, they beat Uprising for sure, 3-1 at the third event. So that's 2 events in a row they put a win on the board. They didn't win in a game in the first 2 events. But also Leverage is fighting for not getting relegated. I mean, they earned the right to play in the Pro Division by, winning that spot. Sea Dogs bought their way in. Sea Dogs have been better this year. And Leverage didn't have to put on Fridays 18? As he was. No, Leverage, I think they're at 19th. It's, so Leverage is 19th at 89. Energy Elite's 20th at 69. And then New York Extreme is at 18th at 137. So they got a little bit of a lead here in that relegation conversation. And then Aftermath's at 176, again, double points for Cup. But the 3 teams that are really at the precipice, especially, it's really Leverage and Energy, but it really just kind of depends on this. Because like you said, if Leverage can find a way to make it, if any of these teams can, we're going to get to New York Extreme and Energy Elite, but this is what makes bracket D or Group D in the prelims such a fascinating story, is that now you have the 18th and the 20th place teams fighting to avoid relegation, having to play each other in the prelims. And if Energy Elite can win that game, that'll actually give them a win with double points at Cup. And depending on how Leverage does, maybe that saves their season. So that's a must-see situation if you're a paintball fan and you want a good story. Like that game in the prelims between when we get to Group D here in a second. But I think you're right, though, with Leverage beating Uprising and Dynasty. So only 2 wins this year, but the 2 wins are against teams that are really good, that have made Sundays. Obviously, Dynasty is the best team ever to play the game, and Uprising made a good run of it the last event. That's the best. I mean, that new roster they have right now is the best they've looked in, 8 years. Those are 2 really solid wins that should give them a lot of confidence. And like you said, maybe a little more preparation, a little practice, knowing what's at stake here, trying to save our pro spot, knowing that we have beat top teams. I think that that's a big confidence boost for them heading in, playing a rebuilding Diesel. And then we got Tontons and Hurricanes, which, Tontons have been really solid this year. And the Hurricanes have been super scrappy as well, too, making some Sundays. And but they've had some turnover in their roster as well, too. But this is, again, just all these different stories in Group C. Okay, give me 2 picks, though. Who do you got coming out of this one?
Tontons. Oh, man, this is tough. I mean, the obvious pick is Hurricanes, but I feel like it's like football. You want to put an upset in there. I'm going to go Tontons. Yeah, I'm going to go Hurricanes, Tontons.
Okay. That's a smart money. I was going to say, Raney, if you pick leverage and they make it to Sunday, you are a sage. You are one. I thought you were. I was seeing the wheels kind of turn and all the gears starting to set in. I'm like, he might be going leverage right here. And if he goes leverage and they make it through, this is going to be a clip we pull later and be like, Raney is psychic. He's got it dialed for sure.
I don't want to jinx him. I like Caputo. I'll help him out. I won't bet on him.
Yeah. Caputo is a really good dude. And congratulations to him for being a New York City firefighter. All right, let's head on to the last one before I let you go here. Group D, Hurricanes, Uprising, Infamous, Extreme, and Energy. And just as we talked about, Raney, the game between Energy and New York Extreme is going to be a very, very important one because, you talk about the 18th ranked team and the 20th ranked team, and they're playing each other in the prelims, and that really could be the game, depending on how things shake out with everybody else, to decide who gets relegated.
Yeah, I feel like this bracket's, like Heat's been a powerhouse team. They're the top team in this bracket on paper, but they kind of had a bit of a rebuild year. They added in some younger guys. Uprising has juiced up their roster. Infamous played well last event, right? They're figuring it out. And so, I feel like those 3 teams are pretty close to even. You can make an argument for each team being worse or better, however you want to do it. And NYX is no slouch. They gave us a good game last game. They have weapons. They have some bad guys. They have guys in there. So it's like this bracket, you could see NYX Uprising. You could see Heat and Uprising. You could see Infamous Uprising. You could see Infamous Heat. You could see 2 of those 4 teams honestly make it out of this bracket. Obviously Heat would probably be like a -110. Uprising probably be like a minus. I'd say they're more the favorite, -135, 140. Infamous probably like +105, close to even money, and then NYX maybe like +135, 140, and then NRG is probably a long shot, seeing as they haven't won a match this year. They're struggling a bit, losing a bunch in overtime, but I think that more has to come down with their mentality, how they play the game.
Yeah, so just starting from the bottom, Energy Elite has not won a game this year, sitting 0-16 with a -32 on the year. But the beginning of the year was it was a historic moment for the game in general because they had 8 overtime losses in a row, or something close to that, maybe 7. But they had a ton of really close games. So they went 0-4 at the first event, -4, and then 0-4, -5. And then they revamped the roster. They tried to revamp the roster, go 0-4 again, -10, and then -13, 0-4 at the 4th event. And then with Extreme, I like the roster Extreme has. They have some punch and some threats on that squad, that those threats and vets. Haven't made a Sunday, but they are sitting at a -40. They've won 2 games, sitting at 2-14. Infamous they didn't make a Sunday, Raney, until the last event. That's another team that's been underperforming this year. But coming off a solid 2-2 performance, made it through, and then 0-1. But they've had a lot of close losses this year, sitting at a 5-12 overall, with a -13 and only a -2 on Sunday, so weren't getting blown out. But yeah, Uprising and Heat are the big favorites here. So I got to go Uprising and Heat just based on what we've seen out of Uprising and Heat this year. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a surprise if Infamous shows up and continues their upward climb again. No Sundays until last event, started to perform a lot better at the last event, even though, some really close games. but it is World Cup. That's always the kind of the question here is when our last bracket is that who is going to thrive in that World Cup chaos, that World Cup pressure. And but the thing with Infamous is they have a ton of veterans on their squad, even more so than Heat. You know, Heat obviously World Cup champions, and the core of that team is incredibly successful and incredibly experienced. And I love the new pickups that they brought on, but those guys aren't, you know, they are not historically guys that have been in the pro league, crushing people's souls and destroying other teams' dreams on Sunday in the pro division. Though I think that that's capable. And then Uprising is, you know, never won a World Cup in the pro division, obviously, but that's a team full of a decent amount of veterans too. I don't know. It's going to be crazy, man. This is going to be a really fun one. Well, Raney, appreciate you so much, man. And just mad respect to you and the boys. Impact winning that event in Texas. Definitely a big favorite. You know, it was very much a pleasure to watch because as we talked about at the open of the show, I watched a lot of paintball, man, and to see the full court control that you guys had through every single game, the community levels of communication, the production you were getting out of that snake side with JC and Tyler, and then, with how good that Nick was playing in the role that he was playing, and then with both Dalton and Brandon over there, and then getting some mixing in with that depth of the roster you guys have. Yeah, you guys are absolutely a favorite to win World Cup. So anything you got coming up or anything you want to shed light on or any attention to before I let you go, as far as what should the paintball fans should know about? Obviously, All Access Paintball.
Yeah, not much, man. Yeah, All Access Paintball. That's it. Hopefully more fields will have me out. Like I was trying to do this thing where I go around and just kind of break down a field. So this weekend I'm going to go to ASG. I think next Thursday I'm going to Velocity. Like they have ideally, like I'm kind of still in the poker thing where all these vloggers started doing poker content, and then they started inviting the vloggers to the casinos, right? And then now all of a sudden they have these meetup games, right? So they had meetup games with that vlogger, and they invite people out. So I was like, man, how cool would it be during the off season, to have meetup paintball games? Meetup. Hey, let's get all the guys with the meta glasses to meet up and play with each other and have some cool content. Like I got this clip last week of Callie and I playing, and I was like joking before it. I wish I would have had this conversation, but I was like, hey, Callie, tell your Infamous guys not to shoot me, and I'll tell Aftershock, who I was playing 10-man with, not to shoot you, and then we'll just go engage each other and shoot each other. And this was like a joke. The actual match breaks out. He shoots me going up the middle. So I'm able to have that content of him, like, it cuts from him to me to him to me. And I was like, it's just crazy how like kind of sometimes the universe works out, where I wanted to wear the glasses at the last event, and Jason Trojan was like, dude, you don't want to win the event and have the glasses on. Everyone accuse you of doing it. And then this is the event we win. This is the event I win. We, pushing all the content. So that's it really,
Hey, Raney, mad respect, brother. Really appreciate everything you've been doing for the sport for years. You are really one of our leading lights, and always love touching base with you, man. And it's been a cool ride as a fan to see what you've been doing with all these teams. And again, I'm just going to leave these. I read these off before when we started the show, but Raney has literally played for Dynasty, Ironman, Aftermath, Ironman again, Damage, Impact, X Factor. He's won overseas with Golden State Kings. He's won 10-mans. And then Damage again, and then Impact. Like, that's an insane career, brother. Like, I can't wait. Whenever you hang it up, it's going to be one of the easiest votes for Hall of Fame for me ever. So I was sitting there looking at all the names over here as I was going through. I'm like, God, so many of these guys have really good arguments for him, but this is going to be a really easy one for me whenever you decide to retire, which I hope isn't going to be anytime soon, because obviously with how you played at the last event, at the prime of your career right now, bro. So continue to do it for us, man.
Appreciate that, Matty. Thanks for having me on.
All right. And everyone else, again, can please so much. This is always my constant plea. Please help us with this. We're trying to, carry the torch forward. We need your support to do that. So subscribe to Major League Paintball Plus, and we're going to have a ton of content flooding your way as we get ready for World Cup, trying to, as we always do, try to take it to another level. But we have to have your support to do that, as we have the biggest, staring down the biggest event of the year, as World Cup always is. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and look for some more of these podcasts coming at you here before we get to that big event, the World Cup. I'll see you guys next time.